everyone! Here's a new chapter of my Farren Dale Kingdom story. Last time, Lawrence the Wizard meets his generational family companion Crimson, a phoenix. The phoenix misunderstands the wizard as disrespecting him, yet the bird grows to learn that Lawrence is not as bad of a person as he thinks. Here the story continues. The phoenix stood on Lawrence's shoulder, now gaining much more trust in the old wizard than before. Crimson looked at the wizard and spread his wings and flapped them back and forth, causing a whirlwind of red feathers. Lawrence gave wide eyes. As the feathers fell around him and some landing on his shoulders, he became filled with small brown feathers, popping out of his skin. The bird flew away from him and gave him space for his new transformation to take place. Lawrence stepped back, surprised. His arms held out in front of him as he turned his hands and watched as his arms became wings again, and his amazing owl's plumage came back. Miss Willow walked forth and watched closely. His form was changing ever so much. His legs got thinner and full of small scale-looking sheets, and became a light bluish yellow. His feet popped through his shoes and stretched into 3 big talons. His pants became big feathery bundles of grayish-brown feathers, all the way down to below where his knees were, and out popped from behind his cloak a big flat tail of feathers. Big, wide, and fancy feathers. His face changed, too, as his eyes became giant and rounded and orange. He looked hilariously comical, but then he transformed back to his old self. Crimson flew back towards him and spoke. "Well, it seems like you aren't a crow, then. A bird could be wrong on occasion. An owl, wise. I misjudged you. Your grandfather was wise as ever, and was similar to you. Oh, I hate crows. They're always after me. Oh, his name still lingers." He shivered. "Shape-shifting demon, imp, a creepy creature, whatever he is," the phoenix spoke. Willow suddenly perked up. "Wait, Mr. Spear, did you say shape-shifting? I have heard of such a person. He hunts magical beings like dragons, wizards, and witches. Mr. Worth, I believe." Lovisa added in. "Dreadful demon of faraway lands," he added. Crimson Spear looked to the side. "Well, I've been here to protect this family of magical bird people for generations. You could say I'm hundreds of years old." He fluffed up his red flaming feathers and preened himself. "You don't say I look it, though, don't you? Can't you tell the difference between a young phoenix and one who's completed their cycle? You can't. Even if you looked at the feathers under a magnifying glass, the only way to tell is our capabilities. Oh, the older we get, the harder and easier it gets to defend against Talonsworth, and others. He isn't the only one, you know, who wishes the world for himself. Everyone desires things, and maybe getting recognized for something in some way, but there are those out there who use that desire for malfeasant reasons. Those who use it for helping and caring sometimes go unnoticed by the universe as one, and that's okay. But there are some who have been clouded with the need for their attention by absolutely everyone. They need to be known. They feed upon bad deeds and sickening them, poisoning them with the desire to do bad things. Talonsworth is one of those souls. He no longer seeks to use his desire for power to make differences in good. He wanders the minds of those he wishes to look upon him. I don't know why anyone would look up to someone who slays kings and steals glory, and takes down beautiful beasts such as myself." Willow looked sadly to the side. Lovisa, her partner, walked up to her and took her hand in his and pulled it close to him. He spoke. "Miss, I will protect you forever," he said. Willow glanced up at him and leaned into him as he put both his arms around her. His flannel was comforting as ever. She spoke. "I can't believe phoenixes have mostly gone away, and you have to live in fear." Crimson looked down. "Well, I doubt that you will come across Talonsworth, at least not any time soon, I don't think. He doesn't seem to bother people like you, but The wings of your partner do seem desirable and magical to those who hunt." Lovisa looked up and hid his angelic wings behind him quickly. He spoke. "I don't have to have wings when I think he is near. That's unnerving." Crimson shrugged with his puffy wings. The air was frigid now, as cloud cover sank in. Changing the subject, Crimson turned to his companion Lawrence the Wizard, who now stood back in owl form once more. The tall-capped wizard spoke. "So, I'm so sorry, but I am an owl again! The gods and king have blessed me!" He began dancing in joy. Crimson jumped in. "Well, it's the power of the flamed feathers. You see, holding one brings a form which you desire. You obviously can't seem to hide what it is that you wanted, Crow." Lawrence laughed. "Well, I'm finally back to my old self. I suppose there's benefits of both bodies. Hands that grip and eyes that can turn. Well, I'll be on my way. I need to research this series of spells. And at once." He held his finger high into the air and ran back to his tower. The red bird followed him swiftly. Willow looked up at her partner. He was terrified, and seeming to stare at nothing particular, as in deep thought. She reached up and put her hand on his shoulder and turned him to face her. "Hey, sweetheart. There's absolutely nothing you need to worry about. We don't even know if this evil creature exists. I've only heard of him through stories." She grabbed one of his wings and held it in her hands, feeling the soft ruffling of layers upon layers of angelic feathers. She hugged him tight. "Don't worry. Remember, my guardian angel, this is our magical world here. You should be safe with me. I will be by your side whenever you need. You hear me? In a world full of magic and wonder and creation with thought, you seem not to trust that anything bad could happen. You're a smart man, and you know how to make your wings disappear and reappear, don't you?" she said. Lovisa sighed. "I guess so. It's not as much that I'm afraid of Talonsworth wanting my wings, since I seem like a magical being, but more what this character would think of our king, or our friends, the Fae, and the other souls that reside in Farren Dale. It seems so out of control what creatures might be lurking within the shadows, but like you said, Princess, he seems of myth. The worst person we've come across was an imp, not a shape-shifting one, and he seemed not even very powerful, just sneaky." Willow hugged her partner tighter. "It's been a long morning. I'm starving," she said. Her stomach rumbled. Lovisa perked up and got excited about food. "What day is it?" Willow pondered. Friday? That means the pizzeria is open. I wonder if they do lunch." Lovisa smiled and took his hand. She was trembling. He wrapped her in his giant, warm, feathered wings like a blanket and replied, "Well, pizza does sound like a marvelous idea. Thanks for trying to make me feel safer. Well, it will definitely help warm us up. The pizza?" Willow hugged his wing and felt better, so much more warm now. They walked through the forest back to where the apple and peach orchard was near. Just over the hill was their tower, and beyond that, up the roads, was the small but busy village. Willow tripped on a rock in the path. "Oof! My feet are exhausted, hun. We are almost there, though," she said. He stopped where he walked, kicked the rock out of the way, and took her into his arms like a princess. They both looked at each other and became red-faced, trying not to chuckle. She looked away from him, trying to pretend that she wasn't so flattered. He rocked the rest of the way with her until the path they walked on bled into a thick cobblestone road. There were old fence posts and wooden signs everywhere. Lanterns lined the streets as he began to walk into the entrance of town. Willow giggled. "Lovisa, you're going to embarrass me," she said, laughing with a large smile. "Oops, here you go," he said, and let her down onto her own feet again. She stumbled and then caught herself, proving a point. She flexed her shoulders backwards and stood tall as she walked into the township. She carried herself like a queen. But until she smelled the fresh sausages baked with cheese and green peppers, her demeanor changed immediately. She instantly became silly and herself again. She grabbed her partner's hand and stared at them and talked among... She grabbed her partner's hand and ran through the crowd. He called out, "Careful, miss! Do you know where you're going?" People stared at them and talked amongst each other in awe. "Is that the prince and princess? Why are they in a hurry? Oh, they're such a lovely couple. Oh, Mary, would you look at his wings?" They whispered and muttered. The couple couldn't go anywhere without people looking and talking. Willow replied to Lovisa, "Okay, listen, do you not trust my nose yet? I am almost always the one finding the bakery when you can't," she remarked. Lovisa huffed. "Yeah, you're right." She stopped suddenly and stood in front of the fresh pizza smells. Before her were round flat breads spread with a newly mixed and cooked tomato blend. So fresh off the plants, they even left the seeds still in the sauce. She peered through the window of the little pizza stand that displayed some beautiful and colorful slices, and could see the big pot of boiling sauce. The creature working the pizzeria was smashing the newly added tomatoes in the pot with a large tool. He looked out the window and saw the hungry couple. The creature emerged and came out with a big pizza on a tray, and a massive, excited grin on his face. He was a scaly and feathered creature, resembling sort of a Velociraptor. Willow couldn't tell, but he emerged, almost slipping on pebbles as he came out to greet him. He was so excited. He spoke. "Oh, Princess Amber Willow, I have not seen you before. I see you brought someone with you." He grabbed Lovisa's hand and shook it fast. "What a kind-looking prince," he said rapidly to Willow with a smirk. "You take good care of him. Oh gosh, you two must want one of my pizzas. Oh, they're ready now. I'm just going to guess. You want this one." He handed out the big pizza he just finished making. It was embezzled with 3 colored peppers, thick cheese, fresh tomato sauce, basil freshly plucked, and more amazing toppings. This one was going to go out for display. Oh, I'm tempted to eat it myself, but it calls to you two. You shouldn't have to wait. This style is, The feathered creature looked at the board of prices. "Well, for you, a royal discount, obviously. My gift to you. Only half price. It's not every day I see a royal." Willow smiled. "Well, that one was exactly the kind I was looking at before I saw the sauce making. Isn't that funny?" she said. Lovisa stared at the pizza. Willow grabbed a handful of golden coins out of her bag and counted. "Here," she said. She dropped them into a jar sitting out front. "Full price, and some extra. I can see you've been working hard. I see, and this looks delicious." The lizard-like creature gasped. "Oh, that's so kind of you, Princess. Here, please enjoy." He handed the couple a pizza so big they most likely couldn't finish it. Lovisa almost dropped it as they walked over to a fountain to eat. They could see so many people. Samuel the feline playing his concertina, Daisy the dragon with her wagon of flowers, a little cat who used to be mean to Phoebus the hyena, and warlocks stabbing the ground with their staffs, testing out magic as glowing orbs danced around in cool magic shows. To be continued.